All right. Would you go ahead and tell me your full name if you can?
Sure. Stephan, spelled Stephan, Neil Barber, Barber.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess let's get a little history about um, how you got into the Kennedy assassination research. Could you do that?
Sure. um, well, it kind of actually started that day. I, well, I was immersed in this thing that was frightening to everybody, my parents, and that I was at school when this happened in third grade, and everybody that all the grown-ups were just uh, freaking out, crying and stuff, and um, so you're experiencing something like this, and then when you get home, your mother is upset and glued to the TV, and so we went through that weekend and so forth, and I can't remember exactly how long between the day of the assassination and my parents had this book, The Torches Passed,
Yeah.
that someone had loaned them or whatever. Um, but it wasn't long after. And so I was leafing through that, trying, you're in third grade, so you can't really understand the big words that books contain. So
Yeah.
I was just trying to read as much of it as I could. But more or less, I was studying the photographs taken, like the Altkin 6 photograph is in there.
Yeah.
And you're familiar with the book, I'm sure. So uh, I just started reading, and the next thing I remember was someone had loaned my mom and dad a copy of the October 1964 Life magazine with the colors of Zapruder films
Hmm.
published. And, frame 313 is in there.
Yeah.
And so we had just relocated to a new home, and that magazine I saw, well, I should say, my siblings and I saw it on the table or something with the frames that are on the cover.
Yeah.
And we asked mom if we could look through it, and she said yes, but one time and one time only, and
Yeah.
that's it. And then I'm putting it away, that where you'll not find it again, because she didn't want us looking at the Zapruder frames.
Yeah.
So a couple years passed, when the Warren Commission report comes out, of course, and they didn't buy the book or anything. And I just kind of still had my interest in it and stuff. Well, uh, in school, books were starting to come out.
Yeah.
Then the Mark Lane book came out, and I took that out and read it. Now I I'm pretty sure I'm in sixth grade at this point. So this is 3 years later.
Yeah.
That's what got me started, was having read that book
Yeah.
and coming. I live in a. This is a very small town, so we have a limited access to a lot of books and stuff at our library.
Yeah.
But uh, between it and school, I could take things out and look at them and read them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I kind of just can't remember what I read. I just remember some of the Warren Report, but that was such a huge book,
Yeah.
and I didn't understand a lot of it. So I thought, well, I'm just gonna give this back to you have the 2 weeks to borrow it or whatever. And
Yeah.
so I kind of you're a kid and you kind of got involved in other stuff, and I just kind of left it go at that. And then I got into junior high, and I was in the library, and there was the day Kennedy was shot, the death of a president, 4 days,
Huh.
um, something else, and I thought, oh wow.
Yeah.
So I used those to read and all that, and that sparked my interest again.
Huh.
And so, stuff again was very limited. So that's basically how I got started. It was just um, by chance that I happened to have seen these books and so forth, and of course, when the Zapruder film was shown on TV in 1975, all the books were starting to be republished,
Yeah.
and every magazine you can think of was publishing the Zapruder film frames, and writing people were coming, out of nowhere writing on it, and
Huh.
it was really easy to get, other Zapruder film frames that you didn't think you were going to see and so forth. So
Yeah.
I just, from there on, it just kind of took off. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Uh, and so, that's 1975. And then I bought my first copy of the Zapruder film, plus a bunch of slides that were being sold out of a place called the Assassination Information Bureau out of Boston, Massachusetts.
Huh.
And so, things really just kind of took off from there. And things became easier to get a hold of, and other
Yeah.
films were coming out and so forth. So that's how I really got into it.
My next question is, what got you into the Dallas Police dictabelts?
Well, we're talking 1970. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat, and I can't get it out.
You are.
uh, I think this was 1978 because the House committee was under investigation and everything.
Yeah.
And I think they had just kind of finished up and everything, and I subscribed to a newsletter called the Grassy Knoll Gazette.
Huh.
And in that edition, one of the editions of it that summer, now I'm pretty sure it's 1978 now. They had mentioned in there that Gallery Magazine was coming out with a special report on what the House committee found and all that stuff with the acoustics and
Yeah.
the films, and and in that in that issue of the Gazette, they mentioned in there that there was going to be featured a recording of the Dallas police dictabelt
Yeah.
where the shots were. And I thought, how in the world are they going to do that?
Yeah.
Never realizing what they were going to do. But anyway, I was just waiting for that because I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to actually get to hear the gunshots and hear how they were fired and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, a couple months later, that issue of Gallery came out, and of course I ran and bought it right away. I think I actually bought a couple copies because I had found out that it's in case you haven't read this, because it's mentioned in different books that I mentioned in, but back when we were kids, cereal boxes, famous like Sugar Pops and Sugar Smacks, and well, they used to put records that you could cut out of the back of the box, and all it was a piece of the cardboard that a cereal box is made out of, was laminated with plastic, of course, and then they just cut a record into it. So you just cut that out, and you've instantly you can hear the big hit of the month or whatever. So it was in that same format, and that's how they did this. So I'm just all excited to listen to this thing and stuff. Had no idea what was going to transpire, but let's see. I listened and listened and listened, and you can't hear any gunshots.
Yeah.
You can hear some pops and crackles and this and that and the other thing, but you don't know. They don't sound like you would expect them to, as if they were gunshots. So I thought, well, I don't hear anything, but I'll just take their word for it, and now I think we're up to about 1979 now. I just kept listening to it and listening to it and so forth, and so jump ahead to let's see, would be late 1979, early 1980. Or no, I take that back. It was in the middle of, I'm going to say, perhaps March or April or May. And I don't know how this came about. My mind is just, it doesn't, I'm going to get rid of this thing. You can edit this out, I'm sure. Okay. But a guy named Robert Cutler, I don't know if Todd's told you about him or not.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was in correspondence with him, with Cutler. Bought a few of his books, and we were corresponding weekly. And I was talking to him about this Dallas police recording, and he that's when I found out he did not believe that the conclusions by the House committee that H.B. McLean had the open microphone, and so forth. And so he started sending me these pictures and got diagrams and things he did. He was an architect, so he had that expertise in sketches and so forth, maps and what have you. And so he showed me on the map where they said McLean was in relation to the Elm Street and all that, and he wanted to know if I would listen for this or that or the other thing on the recording. So that got me into this interested in this enough that I was actually searching for other things on there, not the gunshots, but sounds that McLean's motorcycle would be making because you could hear the engine.
Yeah.
So we're getting into September now. This is when I came into contact with Todd
Yeah.
when he was 16 years old. And so uh, he had also been corresponding with Todd Vaughn
Yeah.
or Robert Cutler. I'm sorry, and I remember Cutler mentioning Todd to me a couple times um, that Todd was interested in the assassination and this and that and the other thing and the acoustics and so he said I think you two should get together with this. So long story short, we did, and we narrowed it down. What we thought we narrowed down was the sounds that we could hear on there matched what Bobby Hargis did more than what McLean was known to have done.
Huh.
Because and I don't know if I should go into this or not. This is up to you, but
Yeah.
the sounds of the motorcycle at the time where these gunshots, after the gunshots were fired, or where they said they were fired, the motorcycle sounds like it's idling
Yeah.
for about a little over 20 seconds.
Huh.
And so we figured that this is where Hargis stopped his motorcycle and he dismounted and ran over to the lamppost near where the Newmans were standing,
Yeah.
draws his gun, stands there looking around, and then runs back to his bike. So we had this all timed out, and Cutler was doing the math on when this picture was taken and when this part of the Bell film was taken. You know, he had all this stuff he was doing. And we pretty much had that narrowed down that it was Hargis, not McLean.
Yeah.
And so Gary Mack got word of this, and then so that opened a big discussion between Gary and myself.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if Todd was involved in that yet or not. But anyway, Gary was downplaying everything we were doing,
Yeah.
Cutler's using you and Todd, and so is Richard Sprague, and, he was the photo expert.
Yeah.
And this and that and the other thing. And I thought, just be quiet.
Yeah.
And I just kind of ignored it. So that was that's what got us, or me, interested in it anyway. We just, some author comes to you and wants you to do something for him, you get all psyched up over that. And so
Yeah.
it just took off from there. And I was interested in the acoustics.
Yeah.
So did you want me to continue on to the Decker thing with this?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Or did you want to ask some other?
Go ahead. Continue.
Okay. So now we're into, let's see. I said September with Todd. That was 1980. Boy, I'm having a brain freeze here. Or well, I won't say it, but senior moment, to put it in better terms. Because it was September 1980 when I discovered the Decker phrase.
Yeah.
And I was thinking Todd and I were already in touch. So maybe it was 79 when Todd and I got together.
Hmm.
No, it couldn't have been because it was after I was at Groden's. Well, anyway, um, I was I I was sitting in my bedroom listening to this Dallas police tape for the umpteen thousandth time,
Yeah.
and I thought I'm gonna see if I can figure out what so and so is saying during these gunshot sounds that are supposed to be there.
Yeah.
And so no, I take that back. I think Todd said he was listening to it
Hmm.
and he could hear it. And so he casually mentioned that to me while we were on the phone one of the many times we called each other a lot. And so maybe that was what um, sparked me to go in and give it a listen.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly, but uh, so I went in there and and I'm listening to that and I hear these words and I'm thinking, wow, I've heard that somewhere else
Yeah.
on here or something. I couldn't figure out where I had heard it. And so I'm racking my brain. And in the meantime, Robert Cutler had sent me uh, the channel one recording on a cassette tape, basically to match up where the gallery record ends.
Yeah.
And so they synchronized where the gallery record ends and their cassette tape that they got from Tony Marsh begins, and it goes all the way through. I forget how many. I don't know if it's maybe an hour. I guess I don't know, but anyway, they also had put uh, the part of Channel Two that they had.
Huh.
And, naturally, I had been listening to this cassette of theirs a lot
Yeah.
because this was back when Cutler wanted to know if I could hear anything more that Hargis might have been doing where that tape left off and so forth.
Yeah.
So anyway, I had listened to that Channel 2 recording a lot. And so naturally, I'm hearing Decker's transmission of hold everything secure until the homicide and other investigators can get there.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many times I heard that because, as you know, that part of it skips
Yeah.
on skipping copy and stuff like that. So I had become really familiar with that.
Yeah.
And it just dawned on me what I heard.
Yeah.
So I grabbed that cassette and I put it on and to make sure that's what I was hearing. And lo and behold, it was the same transmission on
Huh.
both channels. I ran back. I remember I just sat there for a minute and I thought, oh my gosh, how could they have missed this?
Yeah.
What in all these questions, what were they thinking? Or is this part of the cover up? Or, a million things are running through my head.
Yeah.
So I finally I got up and I ran in and called Todd and I said, you're not going to believe this. And then I explained the whole thing to him. And so we hung back up and he went back in and listened and he said, you're right. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I said, Todd, do you realize what this is going to do to the House Select Committee report and BBN and, Gary Mack and everybody? I think I mentioned everybody I could think of. And we talked for a few more minutes, and then I probably went back in and played it a million times, just listening to it, and I thought, later on, I thought after I calmed down, because I was like really, really, I don't know if the word psyched is
Yeah.
right, but I just couldn't believe what I had found, and I'm thinking, who do I tell?
Yeah.
So I remember I called Cutler or wrote him or something. I'm pretty sure I called him.
Huh.
And I said, Bob, you're not going to believe this. And I went through the whole thing, and it didn't go well. He didn't like it real well because we'd
Huh.
spent all that work on Hargis,
Yeah.
months and months. And so I didn't really get anywhere with him. And I kept trying to think, who am I going to tell about this?
Yeah.
And I didn't do anything with it really until I think it was the next month in October. There was a TV show that was on called Speak Up America,
Huh.
and they had a two-week segment, two-part segment on their program about the open microphone.
Yeah.
And they announced at the last episode that the National Academy of Sciences has just been funded. It was $23,000 and something
Huh.
to re-examine the acoustics findings by the House Select Committee experts.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll just I'll talk to somebody on that committee.
Yeah.
So I went to the library the next morning. It was because that was a Friday night. I went there and got the address for the academy,
Yeah.
typed out this diagram and all this other stuff, and sent it off to I forget who. I addressed it. I didn't know anybody there.
Yeah.
Well, I get this letter back about a month later from a guy, and all he said was something like, "I've got a copy of the letter." It was 2 lines.
Huh.
He was just giving me the brush off, basically,
Yeah.
and said something like, when the committee is finished with its report, we'll be sure to send you a copy of it. And I think
Huh.
that's all it said. I thought, well, great. That didn't go over real well.
Yeah.
So then I think I called J.C. Bowles.
Huh.
Because I kept thinking, I've got to talk to somebody connected with this recording.
Yeah.
And I had been talking to him, beforehand
Yeah.
about McLean and stuff. And so he was just telling me basically treating me the same person at the person at the academy was reacting.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, strike two. And then I wrote BBN, and I also wrote the FBI, I think.
Huh.
And didn't hear back from anybody except Bowles. He tried to, describe to me what I was hearing and this and that, and
Yeah.
kept telling me there's no way Decker's voice could be on channel 1. You're hearing things and this and that and the other thing. So,
Yeah.
so I think I got his letter, and I may have gotten, I did get one back from the FBI.
Huh.
They wanted me to submit everything I had to their office. And I thought, well, Um, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Well, then in the meantime, now we're into 1981 in January now.
Yeah.
Okay, so this guy, I get this phone call from he didn't he said gave me some false name, can't remember what that was,
Huh.
with this company called Triconics, based in Massachusetts,
Huh.
and he was asking me if I would send them a copy of whatever I have of Channel Two that
Yeah.
they had heard about my. They were going through all of the letters that were coming in from people who found out that the National Academy was going to restudy this.
Yeah.
So he wanted to know. They wanted to listen to the actual Channel Two transmission compared to what I was hearing on Channel One,
Yeah.
and so I just kind of thought I have no idea who this person is, and I just kind of ignored it.
Yeah.
Well, then about 2 weeks later, I think it was, the same guy called me back and confessed, told me
Huh.
who he really was. Um, his name is Paul Horowitz. He's a member of the Academy committee,
Huh.
and they wanted to know if I would please send that tape to them so that they can compare what I hear on Channel One to what I said I hear on Channel Two, because they
Yeah.
didn't have anything yet. They were just getting started, so they didn't have any copies of any tapes or anything.
Yeah.
So he told me who he was and all this stuff, and I sent it right away.
Yeah.
And then I get another phone call from him, and he said, "Well, you're definitely onto something because a few of us have listened to it on the committee, and so when we get all situated here, we're going to run some tests and do this and that with it."
Yeah.
So that's how that all started,
Huh.
and so I was wrong about when I got the letter back from the FBI. It was uh, after I had already sent Horowitz the tape and the diagrams and all that other stuff that I mentioned, that I drew up for Bowles or
Yeah.
whoever's that. Um, so I just thought, well, they're going to find this out before I can ever write them back and tell them. So I didn't even bother responding.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's how that whole thing there got started. And for the next year and some odd months, they were working on this until May the 14th, 1982.
Huh.
And they concluded that um, there are no gunshots, not even the one from the knoll, on that recording based on the Channel 2 transmission crosstalk.
Yeah.
That they're the ones who called it crosstalk. That wasn't me. But,
Huh.
but anyway, that was their conclusions, and the report came out and
Yeah.
uh, all that stuff. So that's the history of that part of my part of it in that. Um, but then all the attacks started coming from Gary Mack. I mean, he was just desperately trying to disprove what was found, what they concluded with the academy.
Yeah.
And he had taken over the newsletter, which was the most popular one of all of the ones that were newsletters that were out there, which was called the Continuing Inquiry.
Yeah.
And he was doing most of the writing for that while Penn Jones was going through a nasty divorce, I think it was.
Huh.
And he was in there, just attacking Todd and I both, left and right,
Yeah.
and so forth. And so we had to put up with that. And uh, Gary never did give up on it. He's still, till his dying day, defended BBN's conclusions and so forth.
Huh.
So that's my part in that big mess.
Yeah.
So
Um, I guess now let's go back to your visit to Grodin's house in 1980. Uh,
okay,
could you tell me a little bit of background, how you were invited there and continue until afterwards?
sure. Well, I had become friends with another researcher who was he was heavily into the photographic evidence.
Yeah.
And there was another gentleman up in Canada named Dave Hawkins. He ran a place. I don't even know if this had a name.
Huh.
Because when he would send you a film or a copy of a film or whatever, it was just called "Who Killed Kennedy," and then his address.
Huh.
No, I take that back. It was called the Collector's Archives.
Yeah. Yeah.
I forgot. Yes. So that's I had been in touch with him and bought several Muchmore film, the Bell film, the Hughes film.
Huh.
I forget what other ones. Nick's film, um, and somehow I learned about this guy named Barry Plesh. I've told you about before.
Yeah.
Plesce is how his last name is spelled.
Huh.
Um, and So he lived in Hazleton, Pennsylvania, which is near New Jersey,
Yeah.
and I think wrote him a letter or something, or vice versa. I can't remember exactly. It's been so long ago,
Yeah.
but anyway, we got in touch and we just became the greatest of friends, and
Yeah.
sent each other, stuff through the mail because that's the only way you could do it back then,
Yeah.
letters and so forth. So uh, that year, he wanted to put together a symposium with some of the more prominent researchers.
Yeah.
And he wanted me to come. And he said, he invited Robert Cutler was there. I didn't know Todd yet.
Huh.
Uh, let's see, Cutler was there. I don't think there's anybody else worth mentioning because they weren't as popular as Cutler was, of course. But
Yeah.
but anyway, so Barry and he had me stay for the whole week, and he showed me all kinds of neat stuff. Well, anyway, we had the symposium in August of 1980, or early. Wait a minute. Yeah, it would have been late July, and
Huh.
I think August was that weekend. It was maybe the first or something.
Yeah.
So anyway, he had this whole weekend planned. We were going to go to Grodin's. Um, was it Saturday or some? I forget which day. But anyway, we're going to go to Grodin's this day, and then the next day we were going to go to see Richard Sprague up in New York.
Yeah.
So here comes it. It was Saturday, so here comes Saturday, and I'm all excited about this,
Yeah.
and so was Barry. We had no idea what was in store. We just knew this guy had everything, every film, and all that stuff, of course.
Yeah.
So we get there, And we walk in, and like I said, the other day, I can still see his in, interior of his home in my head.
Yeah.
So um, we walk in, and he's got a massive stereo set up with tons of records and so forth. And then there's all these shelves with empty movie reels on them, metal ones,
Huh.
just stacked to all over the place.
Yeah.
Then he had a little room off that area that had even more of them in there on shelves and stuff. So, we introduce ourselves, and he has us sit down and so forth. And we were there for a while, and I just remember him asking each one of us what we thought about the autopsy pictures,
Yeah.
and I wasn't sure what he meant by that. And he said, "Well, what I mean is, do you think they're authentic?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah, I don't have any question. I saw the ones in the committee's report
Yeah.
and stuff." So he walks over to that shelf I mentioned, a bunch of shelves I mentioned
Yeah.
with the reels on it, pulls out this manila envelope, and I he handed it to me, and he said, "Pull out what is in this envelope." So I
Yeah.
pull out, I get the shock of my life. I'm looking at whatever autopsy photo was on top,
Yeah.
and I said, "Wow, where'd you get these or whatever?" And and he went around and asked Barry the same question he asked me. What do you think about the authenticity and all that? And I think Dukar was not there yet. I think he came in a few minutes later.
Huh.
So anyway, I'm looking at these pictures, and my jaw was probably on the floor,
Yeah.
not not knowing that I was never going to see one of them ever again.
Yeah.
But I just kept studying that picture. So then
Yeah.
I handed them to Barry. I didn't want to be selfish,
Yeah.
and we discussed what's in the pictures and so forth, and like I said, as soon as I saw, when I say as I said, I mean, we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Um, as soon as I saw that picture of that right lateral photograph that Groden had in that collection, um, my exact first thought was, "Oh my God, Oswald did do this
Yeah.
because of what is gone from his head,
Yeah.
JFK's head." And so I just couldn't get that out of my head. I thought, I've been wrong all this time. That shot didn't come from the knoll. It couldn't have to blow that part of his head off.
Yeah.
So, um, after we looked at those pictures for a while, Groden had his projector set up on the floor.
Yeah.
So we got down on the floor and was looking at the little, he had a little screen or something. I forget what we were looking at him on, but we saw the Bell film and the clearest Zapruder film I had ever seen in my life at that time.
Huh.
I think we saw the next film, all of them, I think it was.
Yeah.
But he had the entire Zapruder film with all the footage of the kids,
Huh.
his grandchildren playing and all that you've heard about that he took,
Yeah.
and so he had that whole entire reel of film,
Huh.
and so we're just, after we were done, we just kind of sat there and talked for a little bit about what we just witnessed and so forth, and I know we were there from from 1 o'clock. I think we got there at 1 o'clock and left maybe at 20 after 1 in the morning.
Huh.
So, uh, but anyway, it was a fun day and everything. I had no idea what lie in store years later or anything
Yeah.
over what I saw or what we saw.
Yeah.
Um, and I think I may have mentioned this, but I can't remember. Um, Barry, Barry and Richard Ducar had gone outside. Barry, because Barry smoked, so
Yeah.
he went outside to smoke and took Ducar with him.
Yeah.
And I stayed in there and talked to Robert because I didn't smoke at the time.
Yeah.
I don't now either, but I did for a while. So
Yeah.
uh, anyway, that's irrelevant. But um, they were outside for a little bit. I thought, gosh, what are those guys doing out there?
Yeah.
And they came back in and we did whatever we were doing. Well, we called it a day and left to go home, go back to Barry's, and it was about a 2-hour drive, I think.
Yeah.
So we got home somewhere around three-ish,
Huh.
and first thing, Barry's wife was not interested in the assassination whatsoever.
Yeah.
So we didn't talk about it in the car on the way home much. But as soon as we got back to Barry's, Barry wanted to go upstairs and talk about what we just had seen in those autopsy pictures.
Yeah.
And so he started, doodling with what he saw, what we witnessed and everything. And I was so tired because I wasn't used to staying up that late.
Yeah.
And so I finally said, Barry, I'm sorry, buddy. I got to get to bed. I'm pooped.
Yeah.
So he stayed up. God knows what if he even went to bed.
Yeah.
But he stayed up and drew sketches of what we just saw.
Yeah.
They're not the greatest sketches,
Yeah.
but you get the point because of where he put the head wound and the way JFK's hair. We couldn't get over how long his hair was on top.
Yeah.
Where when you see those top of the head pictures and you see all that hair hanging there with the brain
Yeah.
in the back, what is that? I forget what they're called, but there's two of them. And so he drew that hair hanging down, and I think I know he put the hole where it was and stuff.
Yeah.
And then he drew a side left lateral, right lateral, the back of the head photograph, and then the two I just was talking about of the top of his head.
Yeah.
And so he kind of drew those more than anything.
Yeah.
I was more interested in the right lateral than anything else. But he couldn't get over how much of his head was blown off on top.
Yeah.
And so forth. So I said I spent the week there and everything, and I went back home, and Barry called me, I think the day I got home, and he asked me if I would draw what I saw.
Yeah.
So I said, sure. And I wanted to be as professional about it as I possibly could. So I took my book 4 days, and It must have had a dust jacket on it because I remember laying that down, and I had some tracing paper I had purchased,
Yeah.
and so I traced that picture. JFK as he's sitting in the back seat of the car,
Yeah.
looking a little bit to his left. And I thought, boy, this is perfect because it gives me the profile I need even.
Yeah.
So I traced that onto that tracing paper and drew, all the stuff in. The brain was hanging out of the side of, over that flap of skull I told you was hanging over that you can see in frames 335 and all that.
Yeah.
There was brain tissue that was kind of overlapping onto that skull fragment.
Yeah.
And so I drew that in, and I could tell that there had been some little fragments of skull pushed back up into place.
Huh.
It looked like they'd been, maybe Mrs. Kennedy did that too. But this great big one just kind of fell back open or whatever, or maybe the doctors opened it, like I said
Yeah.
the other day. But anyway, so I drew all that in and made it as detailed as I could, and I sent it off
Yeah.
to Barry. And so he had something to, remember differently. Well, I don't want to say differently than what he saw, but a different point of view.
Yeah.
So, uh, so I did that, never thinking I would need a copy of that later in years later.
Yeah.
And that was about the extent of that, that part of it.
Yeah.
Barry and I kept in touch over the years and everything. Well, one of the things I wanted to tell you that I don't think I told you was when Barry and Dukar were outside, I had, this is what they were doing.
Yeah.
Um, Richard Dukar co-authored a little booklet called Motorcade with another guy named Tom Dunshee, Dunsheee, or
Huh.
E.
Yeah.
I can't talk today. Uh, and unfortunately, Tom couldn't come with Richard to Grodin as bad as he wanted to.
Yeah.
So he missed seeing the autopsy pictures. None of us knew we were going to see him, but he was really upset when he found out we got to see those. So
Yeah.
what they were outside doing was planning this little plot that they were going to Tom, Richard, and Barry were going to go back and visit Grodin, set up a time with Grodin to come and visit him.
Yeah.
And Tom was a great big guy. I don't know how tall he was, but he was big and stocky, and he was your regular truck driver
Yeah.
type. And what they had planned on was they were going to get, have Grodin get the pictures out so they could look at him again.
Yeah.
So Tom could see him. Well, then as soon as he did that, Tom was going to get up and go to the bathroom or something. And then when he came out, he was going to grab Grodin in a bear hug
Huh.
while Richard and Barry took off to the press.
Huh.
And they were going to have these pictures exposed to the press.
Yeah.
And they were actually going to do that.
Huh.
But they decided, they better not do it because of whatever.
Yeah.
So that never happened, but that was interesting. I thought that was unreal.
Yeah.
But they knew, that these pictures were not supposed to be seen, or anybody. Nobody was supposed to have copies of them or anything. This stuff was all top secret, and if so, Groden couldn't have really done anything about it because he had something that he had no business having.
Yeah.
But like you said the other night, he did have permission.
Yeah.
So we didn't know that then, but uh, but anyway, and none of these pictures were in color that we saw at Roberts. They were
Huh.
all black and white. So, uh, so that's what transpired at Groden's that weekend. Unless I've left something out, I can't think of anything. Uh, Years later, well, let's see, it would be 13 years later when Harry Livingstone's book come out. Um, I received a phone call from Robert over what I said in there.
Yeah.
He was not happy with me, and um, what's weird is uh, that picture Robert showed us, as I've mentioned to you before,
Yeah.
has never been published. Robert says it doesn't exist.
Huh.
Harry Livingstone is one of the ones, I think he said he had seen it. And Barry Plesh, I forgot to mention this, he had a list of people who saw that picture.
Huh.
He had a whole list. David Lifton was one of them. But there was this list of other people who Roden had come to his house, planned, or I don't know if it was planned company or not, but
Yeah.
anyway, and while we were there, a neighbor came over
Huh.
from at Groden's. A neighbor guy came over, and so there's another guy who saw that same photograph. So anyway, um, when High Treason came out, this is like a continuation from 13 years prior.
Yeah.
Um, I we're into like 1992 now.
Yeah.
After High Treason was published, and I saw that Right Superior profile picture, I was livid. I mean, I was really pissed.
Yeah.
I knew Groden had that other picture that showed the extent, the damage that was really done to JFK's head, like
Yeah.
we see it in the film, Zapruder film.
Yeah.
And I thought, now why did he publish that one and not the one that he showed us in his living room?
Yeah.
Why not give the reader the full view of how much of this man's head was blown off?
Yeah.
And so I just got fed up one day. I was reading something and I thought, I'm going to write this Harrison Livingstone a letter, which I did. I sent it. He got it. He called me and he was telling me all this stuff about what a piece of, I mean, he was cussing Groden
Huh.
out left and right. What a piece of garbage, Groden is, and he's a liar, and he's this, and he's that.
Yeah.
He said, I'm really glad you wrote me about this because I want to talk to you about that picture.
Yeah.
So we corresponded. and he called a lot of times, and we talk about different things, including, well, most of it was based around that picture.
Yeah.
And so I think he asked me to make a sketch of it. And that's when I thought, oh, shoot, if only I would have kept a copy of what I did in 1980. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have to go through this again.
Yeah.
But because I am not an artist.
Yeah.
So anyway, I sent it off to him and stuff. And he had told me I'm working on a new book. And he said, and I want to come and interview you sometime. We'll set up a date, and I'll bring I forget what he called her, but her name was Kathleen Fitzgerald.
Huh.
And Vince Palomera came with them
Huh.
to my place here in Shelby. It's not right in Shelby, just outside of.
Yeah.
And, he recorded, I think they recorded the conversation and everything for his notes,
Huh.
so he could, write his book around what we talked about and so forth.
Yeah.
And but he was telling me, yeah, he goes, I know all about that picture. And then he was telling me that Grodin is the one. He switched all kinds of things in that book, and
Huh.
unbeknownst to Harry, and that's what caused the falling out.
Huh.
So, because I'm thinking he said that there were other pictures that he wanted in there that Grodin had taken out and replaced with this or whatever.
Huh.
But I don't think they were going to publish that one that I talked about. Um,
Yeah.
but anyway, it just a big stink over the fact that Robert's got that picture, and I I think he doesn't want anybody to see it because there's no hole in the back of the head.
Yeah.
It was solid back there, and he, to keep Grodin's conspiracy going on, he's got to have that big hole in the back of the head.
Yeah.
So I just thought, well, he's just as rotten as what they claim the other side is. They're covering up the truth, and he doesn't want people to see the actual what the head looks like
Yeah.
from both sides of the head.
Yeah.
And that, I think that was a big part of my decision I just kind of started taking a look at all these authors and some of the stuff they claimed and said. And I'm thinking, man, JFK never touches his throat. So where'd that clutching his throat come from?
Yeah.
His hands never go anywhere near his throat. They're up in front of his mouth, and the right hand's cupped over his mouth,
Yeah.
and the other is in a semi fist. It's not actually in a fist because his index finger's extended,
Yeah.
but it's right up against the other hand, underneath it,
Yeah.
and stuff. And things just started not adding up with what I thought was the truth.
Yeah.
So that played a big role in who do I believe here.
Yeah.
So, but where did you want me to go from here?
I guess let's get into your involvement, or I guess discussions with the Assassination Records Review Board.
Okay, let's see. How did that come about? Let me think here. Boy, I'm having another senior moment. So this would have been 96. I think that I got I've looked for those letters.
Yeah.
There I've got so many boxes that are still not they're still packed because I don't mess with that stuff. So I've never touched them since I moved here, but
Yeah.
I'll find them. Um, but as I recall, I got a letter from a woman. Oh, let's see. I don't think it was Anna Nelson, but her name's in my head for some reason.
Huh.
But anyway, I get this letter, and they wanted to just do a phone interview with me about this picture that I saw at Grodin's.
Yeah.
And so it was a over the phone conference call. There were
Yeah.
two guys talking to me.
Huh.
And basically it's just everything I told you, that happened,
Yeah.
and how I said and I said all you have to see to know what I'm talking about is look at frames 335 and 337 of the Zapruder film, and you're seeing what that autopsy picture shows.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long we talked or anything, and um, because I was right around that time, I was packing and stuff to go to move to Dallas,
Yeah.
as I recall. And so I was, that's why my mind isn't so clear. It was kind of rushed, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Phone call. Um, but basically, it was just all they wanted to talk to me about was that what I had seen in that photograph and give them a good description of it and that sort of thing. And, the date that I was at Grodin's and,
Yeah.
you know, details of that day and so forth. Um, but then, I think I got 3 or 4 letters from them, but I can't remember what they said, of course. But
Yeah.
uh, but um, I know one of them was thanking me for my help and all that stuff. Uh, and then the next year in '97 that they disbanded.
I think so.
Okay, because that's that I had moved to Grand Rapids at that point when I told you I talked to Doug Horn
Yeah.
on the phone, and um, his reaction when I told him, because I was kind of scolding him for them not. I got mad because they never even attempted AARB never attempted to contact Barry
Yeah.
Platt. And I thought, why would you do that? Why would you ignore somebody who can corroborate what I saw?
Yeah.
Probably, and even more than what I said I saw, because he saw it again maybe a couple times. I know of one for sure, but I'm thinking, he could have seen it a couple more times because they were getting together on weekends
Yeah.
with his wife and stuff. And I mean, that's just stupid that they didn't pursue that.
Yeah.
And Dukar, um, I've never, I've never had any dialogue with him since that time. I think
Huh.
I don't even know if he's still around or not, but he saw it. He saw it. Barry's wife saw it.
Huh.
So it's not just it isn't just me.
Yeah.
And I tried to scan my memo that's in Harry's book on my printer this morning, and I can't get it to copy
Huh.
because that book is so thick that it wouldn't lay in there on the glass
Yeah.
when when it does its thing, and it cut most of it off where the pages meet the binder and all that.
Yeah.
So, but I'm sure if you're interested in that book, they've got it, like I said, on eBay for $5
Yeah.
or $2, probably because it wasn't a big seller
Yeah.
as far as I know. So, um, but I wanted you to to read what I said
Yeah.
about that visit because that's what Harry wanted me to write about was what took place that day.
Yeah.
So, um, I can't think of anything else that pertains to that visit to Grodin's.
Hmm.
Unless you can think of something I haven't mentioned.
Um, I was gonna ask if you could talk more about that time when you saw Grodin in Dealey Plaza.
Oh yeah, when he was mad at me.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was a trip. Um, I was with a friend, Greg Janes, Jaynes.
Yeah.
Uh, we were just, I think I was on my lunch break or something from the Conspiracy Museum, and I always went down to Dealey to chill or
Yeah.
eat my lunch. I'd eat my lunch. I'd go sit in that spot where Charles Hester sat on that little area where the steps go up into the shelter area down there on the east side of the pergola.
Yeah.
So I'd go sit and eat my lunch there. But anyway, and I ran into Greg Janes, and we were standing there on the knoll area and close to where Zapruder stood.
Yeah.
And I had I was facing north, or I'm sorry, east, and Greg was facing, uh, no, I was facing west. Greg was facing east.
Huh.
Um, and so Greg and I are standing there talking, and here comes Robert Grodin, and I didn't see him, but Greg said, "Hi, hey Bob, how's it going?"
Yeah.
And then that's when he said, "Well, it depends on how." I can't remember his exact words. Something like, "It depends on how I'm supposed to feel after I just got raked over the coals over what he said to the AARB."
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, and Greg, I think, said something like, "Well, what happened?" And it was all because of that. What I told them about that picture.
Yeah.
And Grogan had some things in his hand, and one of them happened to have been a notebook that contained that right superior profile picture.
Huh.
And he was standing there, and he's talking to Greg, about he didn't see what he thinks he saw, so he pulls that notebook out or binder or whatever it was, and goes to that page showing that right superior profile, and he I forgot, I left this part out when I told you about it before,
Huh.
but he opens it up to that picture, and he goes, "Here is what you saw. You saw a cropped version of this picture."
Huh.
And I said, "Robert, I did not see any such thing, because there was a big flap of skull hanging over his temple in front of his ear, just as much as I know it's there."
Yeah.
And I said, "That is what I saw. I did not see this picture until you published it in High Treason. So don't give me that." I was getting back at him.
Yeah.
And then I think that was when, Grogan was really just getting hotter and hotter.
Yeah.
He just said something like, "Well, you did not see that because it doesn't exist." And
Yeah.
that's when Greg said, "Well, Robert, if it doesn't exist, why are you getting so emotional?"
Yeah.
In which he didn't answer. But I thought, damn, don't insult my intelligence. I know what I saw.
Yeah.
I didn't say that out loud. I was trying to keep him from getting any more upset. But anyway, that it wasn't a very long uh, episode or anything. It's just we went back and forth a few times over that picture, and he was trying to convince me that it was something that it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the difference between that portion of his head being closed up and it not being closed up.
Yeah.
It's two different views, not even close to each other.
Yeah.
That little mess that's in that right superior profile doesn't make any sense at all to
Yeah.
me. I cannot I cannot figure out that thing that they call the devil's ear. Are you real familiar with what has been labeled, and all that, as far as what's in that picture?
Not really, no.
Well, it's kind of above his ear and a little bit into the back area of your behind your ear,
Yeah.
but it's a red. Uh, I'm guessing it's a piece of skull, but I can't figure out how it can be, because there's blood all over it and there's no hair on it.
Huh.
And it's not hanging by anything, it doesn't look like.
Huh.
And I'm thinking, that is this what people are thinking is hanging down in front of his temple, over his temple? Because that piece is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, all you have to do to see it is look at that rear of the head picture with the gloved hand holding the, on with the one I'm talking about. It's
Yeah.
shows the head, the hole in the back of the head, what they say is a hole in the back of the head, and all that.
Yeah.
Okay, that flap of skull that's hanging in over his temple area is what I'm talking about. That's huge.
Yeah.
We don't get a great view of it because it's kind of, it's taken from behind it, and so you can't see the length of that thing.
Yeah.
Um, so basically, that picture tells you what I saw in that right lateral, except it's not taken from directly looking into the side of his head.
Yeah.
This is just from a different angle. But that's the flap that I saw hanging down and exposing his brain and everything, and it was kind of laying over the bone fragment,
Huh.
tissue parts of it.
I was
So
gonna. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so you can see that those are two different, completely different views of the head wound.
Yeah.
The right superior profile doesn't show that open,
Yeah.
that hanging down in front of his where it is in the Zapruder film,
Yeah.
because Mrs. Kennedy must have put it back up, trying to hold his head down, like she said.
Yeah.
So,
But I was going to ask, do you remember if there was anything in the background? Could you make out anything in the background of the right lateral?
well, yeah, I can remember it was just kind of, the tile on the wall that
Hmm.
we see in the left lateral. I don't think there was another phone in there or anything like you can see in that left lateral.
Yeah.
But I do remember the background. I believe it was the same as the rest of the room.
Yeah.
Now I can't swear that there wasn't a doorway in there or something, but it just had the same sort of background.
Now, I do have a map of the autopsy room, and I want to see if it lines up with that.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah, that might refresh my memory.
Let me pull that up real quick, and I can send it to you.
Okay.
It's gonna take me a minute.
All right. When we're uh, when we're finished here, I'm going to send you uh, my sketch of what we saw and Barry's
All right.
sketches, so you can see what he drew and what I drew.
Yeah. Okay, I'm almost to it. Here it is. Okay, so the that I just have to wrap my head around which way he's facing, 'cause it's okay. So you would have seen probably part of the gallery in the background, along with part of the doorway right next to the gallery.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and send this diagram to you so you can see what I'm talking about.
Okay. Cooler sinks. Okay. Now, where would he be? Where would he be on the autopsy table? The ones marked 1 and 2.
He would be on number one,
Number 1.
and the head is facing this towards the desk on that wall.
Okay. So this guy is on the right side. Yeah, it's kind of hard to picture in my head what was in the background, but the gallery is where the audience would sit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I kind of remember seeing seats,
Huh.
but they were blurry.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't pay much attention to that, but that's what I'm kind of seeing in my mind here was because it seemed like I said, well, asked the question, what's that? What is that in the background with the seats in it? Looks like a theater or something.
Yeah.
And they went like you had to go upstairs to get to the next row, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. Um, so, but that's what's coming to mind is I really didn't know what they were because they were blurry. I could just see they were different dark things
Yeah.
or something back there that resembled seats or bleachers or something.
Yeah. I was also gonna ask, did you see anything else other than the seats in the gallery?
Not in that picture. I don't recall.
That's where the CCTV camera would have been.
Yeah, I don't remember anything like that. But that doesn't mean it wasn't there.
Yeah.
It's, gosh, this has been what, 80, 90. Well, that's 40 years ago, right? 44?
Yeah.
Is that right? 44 years?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that makes me feel old. Boy, no wonder I can't remember clearly that. That's almost half a century.
Yeah.
I sure wish that picture would surface
Yeah.
before my life ends because I'm just hoping somebody wanders upon it or it gets released by somebody else or because
You
I don't
know,
think huh.
I so I do know someone right now who is going through Rodin's files and scanning all of them,
Oh,
and I should be the first person notified if he finds that.
oh, well, good. Well, you do know that uh, years ago. Now, this is when he was dating Diane Diana Bowles, I think's her last name.
Huh.
They were living together, I believe. Are you familiar with her?
I think so.
Um, well, he claimed that somebody broke into his house and stole a bunch of his stuff.
Huh.
And as soon as I heard that story, I thought, you can mark your word that he's hidden that picture or has it in a bank vault or something because he certainly isn't. If he's going to get in some kind of trouble for having that particular photograph,
Yeah.
He's not going to keep it in his home.
Yeah.
That's just my thoughts.
Yeah.
I I don't know that, but he's gonna cover his rear end.
Yeah.
So it I just wish it would. I wish, if the photographer who took it isn't one of the guys. Are they all dead now?
I think so.
Oh,
Did Robert ever tell you about how he got the photo?
no, I don't think so. I mean, he may have then at the time, but because when I asked him, where did you get these? I'm sure he didn't tell us.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I just stole them. He didn't say anything like that.
Yeah.
But I remember I was telling you last night, I think it was, about him. I think it was him who said something about he's ready to pee his pants and all
Yeah.
that. Okay, well, I've got his Livingstone's book right here. And I was going to try to. I got this out this morning
Huh.
because I wanted to see. There's a chapter in here on Mark Crouch about the autopsy pictures.
Yeah.
That's the guy I got my set from.
Yeah.
He's the guy that sent them to me. And I think I talked to him on the phone, if I'm not mistaken.
Huh.
But you really should get this book because it's got a lot on Groden.
Yeah.
Uh, fact, if you don't have the money, I might buy a copy of it off eBay and send it to you because I really think you should have it. Let me look and see what they've got because
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to find what I'm looking for in here.
See, the thing with money right now with me is I do have some. I just can't get to it right now. I'm having problems with that.
Oh,
Um, so, and I also have plans for that money to go other places
uh-huh.
uh, for more important things. So I don't plan to add too many books or anything to my
Oh, to
collection
your
soon.
collection because you don't want to lug them around. Yeah, I hear
That
that.
and I don't want to have to pay for them.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
But I'm already running out of places to put things. So
Here's a copy for $4.80.
huh.
Uh,
And if you'll excuse me, before I forget, I want to ask you something.
oh yeah, I that's the cheapest one on here. The rest of them are $5.95,
Huh.
$6.95, so forth. But I can understand you not wanting to add any more to your collection too.
Yeah.
So
Before I forget, I wanted to ask you something. If it's not too big of an ask of you, could you send me copies of all of the tapes you have containing the dictabelts?
Yeah, I can just email them to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're I've got them on CD, so
Huh. But
I
you
forget what.
do you have the audio tape still?
No,
Huh.
no, I don't. I as let's see. I think I only had um, one audio tape that Norman Ramsey sent to me. Part of which is on um, a C. When he sent me something on CD,
Yeah.
and but the rest of these were made by Paul Horowitz,
Huh.
right from the files at Harvard, or not Harvard, but the files that right out of their National Academy of Sciences files.
Yeah.
Um, and there's but I just recall because CDs were just coming out.
Yeah.
You know, the big thing when Ramsey sent me the cassette,
Yeah.
and I don't even know whatever happened to that cassette.
Huh.
Um, but yeah, I can just rip rip right off the CDs onto my Windows player
Yeah.
and send them off to you.
And one more question. What else do you have on the assassination? Is that all? Or
Oh, you mean as far as Dallas police?
or anything, really? Like, do
Oh,
you...
I've just got mostly books, um, some magazines, but I don't have any like slides or photographs or that sort of thing. It's I do have a lot of DVDs
Huh.
that mostly are most of them Todd sent me.
Yeah.
If you need any, he's got. Have you haven't met gone to his home, have you?
No.
I haven't either, but I know he has got a massive library.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of some of the stuff he has.
But I've got nothing close, not even close to what he's got.
Huh.
I just have a lot of the books, and like I said, these CDs, the Dallas police recordings,
Yeah.
and uh, DVDs,
Yeah.
and I think that's it.
Huh.
I used to have, um, back in the day, I had a lot of photographs,
Yeah.
but they're so obsolete now because of what's been released since that time that we could get like almost original prints of now,
Yeah.
online.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't, I don't even have any of the films I had that I mentioned I bought from the guy in Canada and so forth.
Huh. Do you know where those went?
I seems to me, I know that he was using the cheapest film, and just like the Towner thing you mentioned, that how they were so brittle.
Yeah.
I remember my copy of the Bell film just crumbled. Just may as well say crumbled.
Huh.
I mean, I could hold it up to the light and just see hundreds of cracks in that.
Huh.
So he must have used the drugstore or whoever. He didn't want to mess around with paying for quality film like Kodak or something and used the
Yeah.
cheapest he could get. Because these were only $20 for a copy back then.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know what I might have. I know I had to sell a bunch of my stuff years ago because I was strapped for money.
Yeah.
Todd got some of it, and other people bought this or that. I could kick myself for whoever got my first copy of the Zapruder film
Huh.
because I wish I still had that because it's got those extra frames of the Hesslers and Marilyn
Yeah.
Sitzman that I've mentioned. Um,
But do you have
which
any idea who would have that?
I have no idea. I knew so many people back then. It's hard to say. I mean, I had people uh, contact me. I think somebody put it in their newsletter that I was selling a bunch of my stuff, and
Huh.
people just grabbed it up.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say who has that film because if I could remember, I'd write them and ask them if I could buy it back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not worth anything to anybody now. It's a terrible quality copy and not it's valuable to anybody.
Had you asked Todd about it?
Yeah, but I know he didn't take it because he has the 16 millimeter copy from Penn Jones, or no, he bought it off Mark Lane.
Yeah.
So he's got that. But boy, I wish I could find the person.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only a couple of frames of that film, but it's just I just remember she turned around and waved at Zapruder, and then somebody recently said that he heard that he filmed her walking towards him
Huh.
before he got up on the concrete block.
Yeah. Huh.
So I used to have the Towner slides. Oh man, what else did I have? Willis. I had a set of the Willis slides, the
Huh.
12, the 12 that he was selling.
Huh.
Then that 35 or 36 slide collection that the same place I bought the Zapruder film was selling.
Huh.
You got the set of slides and the Zapruder film for I think it was $25.
Huh.
And the slides were like some Zapruder film frames, the backyard photo, some Warren Commission exhibits,
Huh.
the Hugh Betzner picture. I forget what else. But they were for, if you wanted to go out and give a presentation, you had that in your hands to use.
Yeah.
Because I did it once, and I said, I'm never getting up in front of people again.
Yeah.
That was hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, boy. So it would be, let's see, that was in 1977 I got that package with that in it. So that's what? That's 40, that's almost 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Whoa. Or is it over? Wait a minute. Let me get my, I'm
It's
terrible with math.
50 years ago would be 1974.
So it's even longer than 50. Wow. This very month, I've even still got my envelope. I did keep the envelope it came in.
Huh.
Manila. It was torn when I got it, and I thought, man, it was a hole big enough that they both could have fallen out, the film,
Yeah.
because it was a great big manila envelope, this little tiny plastic box of slides.
Yeah.
And then the film was just a regular, for Super 8 or 8 millimeter film. This was a Super 8 copy.
Yeah.
They could have fallen right out of that package, but the post office on the way, they taped up the hole. But
Yeah.
man, I'd have been really upset if that would have gotten lost.
Yeah.
Because I waited and waited and waited. I thought it was never going to get there.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to have my own copy of the Zapruder film.
Yeah. It's actually exactly what I was thinking when I got mine.
Does it? Yeah. Boy, did I ever wear that thing out, too. When I got it, I just back and forth, back and forth. I had one of those projectors it had reverse and forward.
Yeah.
No slow motion or anything. So I just
Yeah.
wore it out.
I actually got my copy straight from Robert.
Oh, did you really?
Well, it was through another person, but they got them from Robert.
Oh, so you have a nice clear copy?
Not really.
No?
But they're 8 millimeter, and the
Oh.
dyes have really, really faded.
Oh, that's a shame.
But Robert had like 10 of them, so.
Yeah, he, for some reason, he just doesn't use the best that he's got when he's sharing stuff.
Now, I know that I haven't seen this myself, but he does have like a big box completely full of copies of this Proto film, like 16 millimeter, 35 millimeter, basically everything.
Oh, wow.
And they're all pretty good quality. I just don't know where that is.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually going to try and scan some of that but I don't know if Robert would let me.
Yeah.
He is letting us scan some of his stuff now, but he doesn't want it to leave his house.
Oh, yeah.
He would prefer if it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But of course some of it has to, because the guy that's scanning it has to bring all Robert's files home with him, because it take hours to scan all of them.
Oh.
I was on the phone with him the other day, and he just couldn't understand why Robert had such big negatives. Cause he had great 8 by 10 negatives of some things.
Wow. I didn't even know they made them that big.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was saying, I don't even know if I can fit this in my scanner.
My goodness.
I'm working on getting copies of some of that, but he still has to ask Robert.
Yeah, that's the shame of it. I mean, it's really nice of him to be letting you guys do that, but he's probably being selective on, excuse me, on what he wants to let you scan.
Well, we're gonna do all of it.
Oh,
Well,
are you?
he has, but
Oh.
um, I think he's not gonna let too many people see it.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm gonna ask for copies of everything. Might not get copies of everything, but I have gotten things already.
Uh-huh.
Actually, the first thing that I got, I didn't get with permission from Robert, so
Mm-hmm.
that story was that, so that was the first thing, one of the first tapes that this guy had scanned, because Robert has these huge, like, several shelves completely full of VHS tapes of
Oh.
everything you could think of relating to the assassination.
Shh.
And one of the first ones this guy pulled out to scan, um, happened to have some of the Darnell film on there.
No kidding?
And he was telling me about it, and I was saying that's interesting. And I said, how long was it? He said, oh, it wasn't that much. It was only an hour. I was like, what?
An hour?
I was like, we have 4 minutes of it. You gotta send that.
Yeah.
And so he eventually did send it to me, and although it isn't all completely Darnell film, it is mostly Darnell's film.
Gee.
And so I was the first person to release a full copy of the Darnell film. And it happened to be a tape from Robert's collection.
Huh.
And I think the story behind the tape is that, Robert and Gary Mack, I think, they were in correspondence at some time.
Mm-hmm.
And, Gary Mack worked at WBAP, or what
Yeah.
was KXAS back then.
Yep.
And they, their archive happened to have a full 16mm copy of the Darnell film. And he actually gave Robert this copy that he took out from the archive and just gave it to Robert. So you
Gee.
can have this, but he also gave him a VHS copy of it. I think that's what this guy found.
Man. So this guy, this friend of yours, actually has all of the Dealey Plaza footage after the assassination?
Yeah.
Oh my. He shot some really good stuff.
Yeah.
Like the three eyewitness or the four girls that were down by the highway sign.
Yeah.
Because I've seen snippets of that. And I was trying to read the one girl who's crying. I was trying to read her lips
Yeah.
because she's describing what happened,
Huh.
but I'm just not a lip reader.
Yeah.
The only words I could make out were the words like that.
Huh.
when she was describing what I'm presuming is his head, um, or when he looked like she was imitating him leaning forward.
Huh.
And then the that real pretty woman, the she looks kind of like maybe Indian, or she doesn't look black, but she's the one on closest to the camera.
Huh.
I can't think of her name. Clav Cal something. Uh, but she's got the dark hair, and I think her coat's dark blue or something. But anyway, she looks like she's describing the head exploding.
Huh.
I don't know that for sure. That's just what it kind of looks like.
Yeah.
Because she looks up as she's moving her hands in an upward, like stuff flying, you know. And they would have had a pretty good view of that, I would think.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being where the Newmans were, or I guess the Newmans, because they got the bird's eye view of, well, not bird's eye view, because
Yeah.
bird's eye view would be aerial, but
Yeah.
they sure got a bad view of that head fatal shot.
Yeah.
Did you notice where Mr. Newman's beating his fist on the
Yeah.
ground? Oh. And he said he was saying the words, "Some son of a bitch just shot the president."
Yeah.
He says that. Did you ever see that where he said that?
I might have.
It was on the Sixth Floor Museum. The boys are with them, and
Huh.
they're all on stage with Stephen.
Yeah.
And that's what he said. He said after that happened. So,
Yeah.
but poor Mr. Chuck Brem, that poor guy. He was, well. You've seen that of him crying and stuff.
Yeah.
Did you know I knew him?
No.
I didn't ever tell you about that.
You might have actually, I think. But go ahead.
I started corresponding with him in '77.
Huh.
Sent him a letter, did some phone calls, and then by 1979, he kept inviting me to come down.
Huh.
And in 1979, I actually went down and spent the night with him.
Huh.
And the week I was there.
Yeah.
And he took me around Dallas and showed me all kinds of stuff where he worked at the time of the assassination and where they lived, and
Huh.
told me the story about Mark Lane when he came to film him for Rush to Judgment,
Huh.
which he did not like Mark Lane at all because of what Lane did to his put words in his mouth,
Yeah.
saying that Brem said that the shot came from in front and all that stuff, and
Yeah.
when he didn't. And said that when Lane and his crew came there, they messed up their carpet and didn't offer to pay for it or anything. So he didn't have much nice to say about Mark Lane.
Yeah.
But then I can't remember if it was after I moved down there in '79 that he took me to the state fair with him.
Huh.
Oh, we had a blast, just he and I. We went down to Dealey Plaza, of course, and
Huh.
sat under that tree that they cut down, and I could just cry over every time I see that it's gone.
Huh.
You know that tree in the background during when the shot behind the fence, or
Yeah.
not the fence, the freeway sign.
Yeah.
That tree in the background is gone now
Huh.
because they ripped it out. And that's what I always used to line things up
Yeah.
with JFK, because he's right in line with that tree behind him.
Yeah.
And now you can't do that anymore.
Yeah. I was gonna ask, did you ever get photos of Dealey Plaza?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. I've got several actually.
Like on film or?
No, just camera.
Huh.
I didn't have a. See, what did I have? Well, a friend of mine gave me a bunch of uh, pictures he had um, while I was living down there in '96,
Huh.
and then what few I took,
Huh.
because I took some on the anniversary that year,
Yeah.
whatever year. Let's see, that would have been 30. Wait, 96. See, 93 would have been 30 years. So that would have been the 36th anniversary,
Huh.
something like that. Anyway, I had it set up because I have a old Polaroid camera,
Yeah.
and I wanted to try to duplicate Mary Mormon's picture
Yeah.
with my Polaroid because it only took black and white.
Yeah.
So I tried, a couple of different shots in that area, and um, one from where Wilma Bond was standing, I think.
Do you have any of those?
I've got them somewhere.
Huh. I'd like to see those.
Yeah, if I can, I think I know where they are. I'll scan them.
All right.
Um, I didn't have a movie camera or anything back then,
Yeah.
and we didn't have cell phones yet.
Yeah.
I mean, they were just coming out actually, but
Huh.
because I know my boss had one.
Yeah.
People were still carrying around pagers.
Huh.
So,
Well, I think that's about all I wanted to ask you.
okay, well, if you think of anything else, just let me know, and I'll.
All right.
Uh, or if I think of anything that I might have forgotten or something, I'll be sure to tell you.
All right.
So I hope I did okay.
Yeah.
But you can edit out what you don't want and so forth.
Yeah.
So,
Well, thank you.
well, you're very welcome. Happy to do it.
Yeah.
So, so are you doing anything this weekend or?
This is the only thing I had planned.
Oh, yeah, me too. I just enjoy staying at home at this age.
Yeah.
There's not much. I mean, this is a tiny town, and there's not much to do in it. So,
Yeah. I know. The week after next week, I'm planning to talk to Harry Kavluk and
oh,
interview with him in person.
wow, he's still alive, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, it was Jerry Kavluk, his
Oh,
brother.
his son,
His brother.
his brother. Ah,
He was also there taking pictures, but
oh, he was.
yeah.
Now, is he the one who took a picture of? It's the underpass is in the background, and there's a guy in the street running to the car. I think it's similar to what Aldkins took when he was when he photographed Clint Hill on the back of the car.
Well, uh,
Is that Kablik who took that picture?
Jerry Kavluk, I don't think got photos of Dealey Plaza. At
Oh,
least
oh,
not from the ground.
okay.
He was the one that he got out on a helicopter that afternoon
Uh
and
huh.
took aerial photos of Dealey Plaza.
Oh, so that's who that is.
He said that was around 3 o'clock, though.
Okay, I've seen those pictures. Then I'll bet you.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
only have one of those, but I he says that I think he has copies of some of his contact sheets,
Oh,
and the rest are at a university down here.
have you? I'm sure you've been to the library, haven't you?
No, actually.
Oh, you're kidding. Boy, you can go in there and find some interesting photographs.
Yeah. I was
Not.
actually gonna try and contact, I think, uh, whichever um, university has those contact sheets, because they don't just have Jerry Kabluk's, they have all of the Fort Worth Star Telegram ones.
Oh boy.
I
Oh
was going
boy.
to contact them about getting copies of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, I didn't want to go in and make the copies myself, so I was just going to say, can you make the copies for me and I'll come pick them up?
Yeah.
And I'll pay whatever I have to.
Uh
I never did do that because I don't know if they would actually do that.
huh.
But I do need to go down there sometime
mm-hmm.
because Texas is a lot bigger than you think. Places are way farther apart than you're led to know.
Uh huh.
It was the University of Texas at Arlington that has these.
Oh.
Uh, their their library that they have all that in. It's not too far from here, but it'd be like a 20 or 30-minute drive.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd have to actually plan a day for that.
Yeah.
So I have to stay there for a few hours.
Yeah. I know what you mean about it being really spread out because um, Mr. Brem lived in Carrollton,
Yeah,
and I thought it took forever to get there from like Dallas.
yeah,
And I don't know how far it is out of Dallas, but it just seemed like, gosh, This seems like a long drive.
Yeah, and I will say I live in a suburb of Fort Worth, but downtown Fort Worth is a little over 10 miles south of me.
Oh,
And Dallas isn't too far away, but it's still half an hour drive,
yeah,
especially with traffic.
yes. When I lived down there in '96, I lived in Irving for about 3 weeks or 3 or 4 weeks
Huh.
till my apartment became available,
Yeah.
and I had to drive from Irving to to the where my building was. I worked at is the old Katy building, they call it,
Huh.
on Market's. I think it's Market. Yeah, Market Street.
Huh.
You can see it in the background in some of the pictures of that day,
Yeah.
but it was the railroad. They railroad something, um, and so you had to park. You couldn't park there, at where the building I worked in was.
Yeah.
So I always parked behind the knoll or
Huh.
somewhere in that vicinity, and then I just walked down through Dealey Plaza and up Main Street
Huh.
to get there. Uh, but sometimes in the mornings, like I remember if it was overcast or whatever, I'm thinking this is the route that Oswald and what's his name Frazier took to work every day.
Huh.
I thought I would never be doing this,
Yeah.
you know, or working, just one block or whatever from Dealey Plaza. I just couldn't believe I was there and stuff. It was
Yeah.
wild, you know. I wish I could have stayed, but Harrison Livingstone had me scared to half to death that I was going to get killed.
Huh.
He thought Grodin was going to kill me.
Huh.
Said because he goes, he's got a gun. I'll tell you that right now. But he goes, I want you to just get out of Dallas. And he sent some money to help me get out and everything.
Huh.
So, and then
Yeah.
here's an interesting thing that happened. That remember I told you when I got to work my first day and all that, um, or when I arrived, it was a Sunday, and that guy told me that Robert wanted to see me on Monday because he had to talk to me about something.
Yeah.
Well, um, I couldn't believe after all that had transpired. Now, this is before we had the falling, that fight on the knoll and all that,
Yeah.
because this is right when I got to Dallas. But I had no idea he was living there,
Yeah.
for one thing. And then he's on the board or was at the time, of the Sixth Floor Museum.
Yeah.
So he could get in and out of there for free.
Yeah.
So he wanted to take me up there, and I was in the car with him.
Huh.
And so after Harry was, saying all this stuff, and this was right around the time I was leaving, but so I'm thinking, here I was in the car with Grodin. He could have kidnapped me and taken me out and killed me if he
Yeah.
wanted to, based on what Harry was saying.
Yeah.
You have all these thoughts coming back in your head. Wow, man, if he's going to kill me, he could have done that then, and all
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So, but I don't think Robert's was gonna do anything to me. He was so nice to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way he is. He's just got the nicest personality. But a friend of mine went down there from up here because he had to go down he worked for the phone something or other with phones.
Huh.
And they were having a thing in Dallas. It was like a learning experience or something.
Yeah.
And so he said, I'm going to, go see what Dealey Plaza looks like. And he gets down there. He didn't know who Grodin was or anything.
Yeah.
And, but Grodin was set up with his stuff and all that. And this friend of mine, his name's John Warrington. He said he walked up to Grodin and was talking to him. And he said, well, I have a friend that's really involved in this. You might know him or heard of him. His name's Steve Barber. And he said, Grodin just exploded on him and said, you tell Steve Barber I said to go F himself.
Huh.
And he was telling me all this stuff that Grodin was saying. And I'm like, and he got mad at Grodin and said some things to him for that because he goes, I just came down here for a meeting and stopped in here to see what this area looks like. And then you start jumping all over me about somebody that's a mutual, or was not a mutual friend, but a friend of mine.
Yeah.
He just let Robert have it back. And I thought, well, there you go. Robert's real nice to me to my face, but stabs me in the back when I'm not.
Yeah.
So, but I still think he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
In spite of that. So.
I can't think of anything else I'd ask you.
Yeah, I think we pretty much covered everything.
Yeah.
I better write down what I need to scan and send you, though, or I'm going to forget.
Yeah.
So let me get a piece of paper. What pictures I have. The sketch or the autopsy picture drawings. Think of any, is that all that was?
And all the Dallas Police
CDs. Yeah, the CDs. Excuse me. Hiccups.
Yeah.
DPD recordings. Pictures. Autopsy. Is that it?
And also try and look for that one tape you have of the dictabelts.
Oh, I know I don't have that anymore.
Huh.
Yeah, I wish I did.
Oh, and the letters.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know I won't forget those because I've been looking for them. Huh. They're probably right in front of my face, and I just...
Yeah.
Because it seems like I just had them out rereading stuff.
Yeah.
So they're in a box that's easy access. I just have to remember because I've got so much stuff.
Could you also send the letter you got back from the National Academy of Sciences?
Oh, yeah. Now that it'll be a Xerox because it's in a great big pile of all the correspondence between the NA, the guys on the committee and all this stuff. Gas went up 50 cents here. Jeez. My sister just texted me. Oh, man. What were we saying?
Oh, the correspondence from the National Academy of Sciences?
Oh, yeah, the guy that wrote me and said 2 lines or whatever, that
Yeah.
one. Yeah, that's his name's C.K. Reed.
Huh.
R-E-E-D.
Huh. But if it's not too big of an ask, I'd like to see a lot of that.
Oh my gosh, that would take me forever to. You can get it from somebody because
Huh.
somebody sent it. Somebody sent that to me.
Huh.
I don't know where you'd get it though. Okay, I've got EPD recordings, pictures, Dealey Plaza pictures,
Yeah.
autopsy, AARB letters, and CK Reed letter.
Yeah.
And if I see it, I'll even stick the one where I think I have it, where Bowles wrote back and said what he said.
Oh, yeah, and I keep finding stuff that I want, and I don't want to ask so much, but I'd also like to see some of the letters from Bowles and Livingstone, Cutler. I can't think of any others.
Harry, oh my gosh, I've got a lot of his letters, I think, that I'd have to look in there and see. I don't even know what we were talking about, but I'll look for those. And Bowles, I think I've only got 2.
Huh.
Because here's the thing, and you're not going to believe this. I was renting a house, and was moving from it,
Yeah.
and I had all my letters, all my autographs from every scientist on that committee I was helping
Yeah.
for the NAS.
Yeah.
A letter from Luis Alvarez. Had 2 of those. I had all this stuff in frames and hung in my bedroom on my wall,
Yeah.
among some other things. Well, the landlord went on a cleaning spree because I guess I wasn't getting my stuff out, fast enough or something, and he burned it.
Jeez.
So I lost letters from Bowl. I had this box. I lost my letters from Chuck Brem and his wife. Oh man, every time I think about this, I could just cry.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that makes me sick. But all that stuff I had, he was just a jerk. And the thing is, if I'd have given him a reason to do that, it would be one thing. But there was no reason for him to do that. Just that he was being a jerk.
Yeah.
So we have people in this world like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I only have Norman Ramsey was the chairman of that committee. Nobel Prize winner he was.
Huh.
And Luis Alvarez was a Nobel Prize winner also. And he was on that committee. And so I lost both their autographs. all the rest of those scientists, um, that might have been where that tape went, now that I think of it.
Oof.
Because I had them all in a case. I'm pretty sure that's what happened, because I'll bet you that's what it was. But anyway, I didn't mean to get off on that. But
That's alright.
but I also had Bull's one letter was in the frame too, and so I think I've only got two left of three that he
Hmm.
sent me that we corresponded.
Yeah.
So, but, but I'll try to gather this stuff up and scan it and copy it and all that stuff and get it off to you.
Alright.
So, gives me something to do.
Yeah.
So, well, I guess I should have gotten gas prior to today.
Yeah.
50 cents, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
What is it down there now per gallon?
I haven't looked recently.
Oh, I keep forgetting. You're only 14 years old. You're so intelligent and everything. You sound like an older guy. Like
Yeah.
18 or 19 or whatever. And I keep forgetting about that.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So you can't drive for what, 3 more years?
Well, down here I will be able to drive next year.
Oh, well, that's good.
I can take the test next year if I want to.
Uh huh. We had to be. I don't know if it's still 16 here or not, but
So that'll get me out of the house more.
yeah, yeah, you'll love it once you have your freedom to go wherever you want to and
Yeah.
all that stuff with nobody. And can you take me here?
Yeah.
And all that fun stuff.
What I'm not excited about is the traffic down here.
Oh, I know that was so bad down there. I was a nervous wreck when I first got there. Oh my gosh, I tell you, I didn't think I'd ever get used to it, but I did. I did.
I know on my way on, cause I drove down here. That's how I moved down here.
Uh huh.
We had to pack all as much as my stuff into the car as we could, and just drive the 10 hours it was from Missouri. And
Uh huh.
so, and we bought one of those things that, those big bags that you put on top of the car. You could put tons and tons of stuff in.
Yeah.
We bought one of those, and I remember we got really frustrated trying to put it on, and I don't know if we did it correctly. And so the entire car ride, we did it at night, which I wish we didn't, but
Mm-hmm. That can be nerve wracking.
the entire drive I was worrying that thing was going to just fly off of there with all of my stuff in it.
Oh.
And that
Yeah.
had, like, tons and tons of important stuff in there, like all of my projectors, my two
Oh, gee.
trombones. And so
Oh.
I'm sitting in the car, like, I sure hope that doesn't fly off. And, like, every sound that it
Mm.
makes would just terrify me.
Yeah, I bet. I bet.
And we got down there, and the first thing I did was I jumped out of the car to make sure it was still up there, and thank God it was. And so I unpacked all of my stuff in like 10 minutes, and then just went in the house.
Wow, yeah, man. I bet you were on pins and needles.
Yeah. Luckily, I did get some sleep on the way. Uh, but yeah, we left at like 5:30 p.m. and got down here at. Well, I know we drove through Denton at about 4 o'clock in the morning,
Oh, wow.
and we got here at the house at around 7 o'clock.
Wow. So you slept most of the next that day then, right?
No.
No.
What was annoying is that my mom wanted to go around and do stuff that day because they were only staying down there until the next day.
Oh.
I was obviously staying down here until further notice,
Mm-hmm.
so I had all the time I wanted. But yeah, we went out and just did everything that day.
Oh boy. So you must have slept like a baby that night.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Oh,
was excited to be down here.
I bet, because I know how much I was.
I remember my first visit to Dealey Plaza, it was not too long after that.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 2 weeks after I came down.
Oh, uh-huh.
Uh, Basically, I had arranged the same guy who's scanning all that stuff from Robert. Uh, he runs JFK Lancer now.
Uh-huh.
Um, I had arranged to go get some stuff from him so I can scan it for him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he didn't have the ability to digitize audio tapes, and I did.
Oh.
So he was just going to give me some that he had. He was going to let me borrow them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had arranged that we'd just meet in Dealey Plaza. Because I'd get to go for the first time and get those tapes.
Yeah.
And I also remember he brought. That was when I got this camera that I still have. I don't get to keep it, but I'm still loaning it from him.
Mm-hmm.
It's the exact same camera and lens that Altgens had.
Oh, yeah. I remember you telling me about that.
And I've used it for like everything now. Uh, like I bring it almost everywhere I go, and I keep 2 rolls of film with me. Uh, but yeah, basically I remember we got there, like 10 minutes before them, and then when they got there, I already had some film that I'd bought, and so I just, uh, grabbed the camera from it and loaded in the camera, and then he basically asked, where do you want to go first? Because we
Mm-hmm.
took photos from everywhere in Dealey Plaza.
Did ya?
Because I had 2 cameras there.
Uh-huh.
That one that he lent me, and had this little point and shoot camera that was from my grandma.
Yeah.
It used film, but it was not a very good camera. And what I had planned to do is I had a roll in there. It was a black and white roll.
Uh-huh.
And I took pictures on there like the week before I came down, and I think one on the drive down, which doesn't look like anything at all because it was pitch black. And I remember I finished off that roll in Dealey Plaza because I took black and white photos in Dealey Plaza. Uh, they're not very good quality, but uh, they're very, very wide angle photos.
Ah.
Much more wide angle than the other camera because Ultims had a very, very close up lens, more than you might think.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so, like, you can't hardly see. Like, if you were to stand, like, 7 feet away from a person and take a picture with it, you'd see
Uh-huh.
only their face.
Wow.
Like, you wouldn't be able to get anything else.
Man.
And so, those photos were a lot better quality. It's just, you had to stand really far back from what you were taking a picture of.
Now, is that the kind of lens he used to take of like after the first shots fired?
Yeah.
Because I know that picture really distorts what is
Yeah.
in front of you. So I just was curious.
Yeah.
Man.
See, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, I was just. But yeah, I eventually got those tapes home, and I did listen to some of them, and they do have some really interesting stuff on them.
Ah.
Because they're radio tapes
Mm-hmm.
from radio stations around here. Uh, Coverage of not only the assassination, but a few other things.
Have you ever gone to Dave Von Peen's website?
Yeah.
Boy, he's got a lot of stuff on there.
Yeah.
I trying to think what if it's KLIF. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
One of the something I used to buy cassettes off of a guy who used to have a. He's gone from us now, but
Huh.
his name. He had a place called M&A Book Dealers,
Huh.
and he was in Waco, and he sold a lot of radio uh, broadcasts from that day.
Yeah.
During the uh, the day and
Yeah.
some programs that Marguerite Oswald was on or Roger Craig was on and some
Yeah.
of it up from the actual day that when I had these this was the first time I had heard it again since the day it happened
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and it was just like, wow, I remember this, what they're doing right now. And
Yeah.
boy, it just depressed me.
Yeah.
Just thinking back on that day. That was a sad day, a sad weekend.
Yeah.
And I can remember in the torches past, I kept trying to see. I think somebody had to point him out to me. Because that picture isn't very big in there
Yeah.
of Altkin 6, and I mistook Governor Conley for JFK.
Huh.
I thought that was JFK, and then somebody I think showed it to me that he was right behind him, and I
Huh.
saw that. It just creeped me out because his arms in there
Yeah.
and his hand and stuff, and boy, my throat.
I'm gonna go ahead and go now. I didn't eat lunch, so I'm pretty hungry.
Pretty hungry, I bet. Okay. All right. Well, I've got this list here, so I'll get on it.
All right.
And thank you for the interview,
Thank you for letting me.
or for your interest. I mean, I should say you did the interview.
Yeah.
So you're welcome. And as I said, if I can think of anything else I might have left out, I'll just let you know somehow.
All right.
So you go enjoy your lunch.
All right.
Okay. Well, I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Okay. Take care.
You too.
Okay. Bye bye.